I'm the beard champ.
I'm convinced it's because of all the years wearing a chin strap, but like right here grows to about this length and then just stops. And like, I don't know. It's like right where my chin strap used to hit too.
Yeah, that is kind of funny.
I'm convinced.
I'm just going to come in, adjust that one camera, and then we'll...
Are we up on? Yeah, we are. Share to your Facebook real quick. Matthew, you as well.
What do you want me to do?
Share the live feed.
Where is it? Is it going to be on your Facebook? Where is it? Is it on your guys' Facebook?
Yeah, it's on Glass Half Sports. You've been on the show twice. You should know better.
No, this is my first time
So
back.
this is a cell phone, right?
Hey, everybody. Just letting you guys know we're going to be starting the show very shortly. Feel free to comment below the video, especially if you're watching on the Notoriety Sports Network page, and we will, get back to your comments. We'll be showing your comments on screen.
I can tell Matt's on our page over there. I can hear it. Is that what you hear when I do it on my phone?
Someone's got to turn off their speaker in there, yeah.
That's on me.
And don't be afraid to share our live stream today.
That's
Always
right.
helps.
It does. So people actually have to see that the show is out there, right? So we can't have people 32 episodes in that have been on the show twice that don't know where to find it. You just share it if you want it up on your friend's page. Then that's good, you know. Matt, I had to rip you just a little bit.
I wouldn't know anything about. I don't know what you're talking about.
Do we see Dylan Beeks as much this episode?
Probably.
Now that the Eagles are out.
Probably.
That's my question.
He's already got 2 comments. We went live and he commented twice right away. I was like, oh, there we go.
All right.
Man never misses an episode. All right, Gabe, whenever you're ready, we can roll, because I assume you two are good to go, yeah?
Oh yeah.
1 second.
I did post on the Facebook that we're starting at 11:45, and it just clicked over. So sitting pretty right now.
Yeah, we are running behind today, folks. And guess what? It wasn't because of the mensings. I know that runs in their blood, but we can't blame them.
It wasn't helped by the
quite on
mensing.
time.
It wasn't helped.
I was here within plenty of time, actually.
Yeah.
It was pretty sweet.
All right, guys, we'll be turning it over to you here. Whenever you're ready, the show is yours.
Ready?
Yep.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Glass Half Sports. Episode number 32. Today is January 13th? No, way back.
Today's the 20th.
Wow, the month has started.
I'm worried
to get,
about you.
Yeah, it started to get away from me a little bit. It is January 20th. Glad to have you back as always. Coming off an exciting, super wild card weekend, joined as always by my co-host Mike Mensing. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Enjoyed seeing Monday Night Football in the playoffs. Hope to see that many more times to come.
For the remainder of time.
Yeah. I thought it was absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I had a good weekend watching it as well. 3 straight days of football is always good for the soul.
Right.
Like chicken noodle soup.
So as always, folks, make sure to like, comment, and share. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, and
YouTube.
We're back on YouTube.
And we'll be actually up on Twitch here within or by the end of the month as well. So we are expanding so we can get to more of you because we know you love us so damn much.
And then if you do miss us live, make sure to catch us post-show on MCN 6, Saturdays at 2 o'clock and Fridays at 7. That is cable.
We are Hollywood, folks.
Yep.
Big time around here.
And then introducing our special guest, we're actually going to have him on for the entirety of the show today.
Yes, sir.
Specializing in UFC for sure. Introducing my brother, Matt Mensing. Huge UFC fan and an amateur kickboxer, so definitely that's his field of specialty, but definitely an NFL fan as well. So
Big time.
Interested to get his opinions on the Wild Card Weekend, which is going to begin our show rundown today. So we're going to touch on the Wild Card Weekend review. Nick has a segment that he's extremely excited for.
I'll go out on a limb right now. I'm going to say that this is going to be the best segment in show history. I'm going to set the bar that
huge
high.
prediction for a segment called To Coach or Not to Coach. We're going to touch on the NFL divisional games, do our weekly Wild Wolf Watch, and then the segment that brought Matt into the studio today, UFC 270.
Yeah, going to give him the opportunity to redeem himself. Are you excited? Do you think you have it in you to claim redemption this week there, Matthew?
I can't do much worse, so.
That's actually very true. And hey, we should all give a round of applause to Gabe because he made this happen. Probably the main driver in the Matthew Mensing on this show fan club. So big shout out to Gabe.
Such a
back
fan.
there.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Take all the fans I can get.
Hey, gotta start somewhere.
Yeah,
gotta
that's the
start
truth,
somewhere.
man.
When is your next fight, by the way? Do you have that planned out yet?
Either March or for sure April, if not in March.
Well, we're gonna have you on before your next fight to pub it a little bit, and then maybe we'll come out there and cover it. How about that?
Sweet, that sounds good to me, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. So we can kick right into the show. Start to talk about Super Wild Card Weekend, an exciting weekend of football for some teams. And then there were some games that you could fall asleep for because they were lopsided blowouts, which is kind of interesting. And we can go ahead and start with the Bengals and the Raiders. Mike, what were your thoughts on that starting game? Kick everything off.
Yeah, this was a game I was definitely excited for.
Yeah.
With so many years for both franchises going back to their last playoff win, there hadn't even been a text message sent about a Bengals playoff win. And I thought it delivered. The game was extremely exciting from wire to wire. To see the Raiders do what they did all year in those kind of fourth quarter heroics, and then Joey B and the Bengals pull it off, was pretty exciting. I thought it was a great way to kick off Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah, I did too. Kind of puzzled by what followed it on the Raiders side of things with Mayock getting fired or being released from what we've understand at this point.
After they began the GM search publicly as well.
That's a little odd to me. And the only thing that I pulled out of the Raiders thing was the moment definitely was too big for them. And like, as much as I loved what Rich Bisaccia was able to do, getting this team back on track and actually getting them into the playoffs, there is a vast gap in experience probably even between his knowledge and somebody like Zach Taylor, who's been a head coach, knows how to operate that stuff weekly, and all he was getting added to his plate really was playoff pressure. But he's got the right guys in the locker room. I think the Raiders have that as well, but they do just look like they were outmatched. Like Derek Carr played a little fast at times. They kept it close. It wasn't an embarrassment by any means, but you could tell who was prepared for the moment when it came and who kind of let it get away from them. I mean, would you agree with that?
I would. One thing I want to touch on is I think they need to make the decision to bring back Rich Bisaccia. I thought he did an amazing job in the interim.
Yeah.
He brought a team that was not a playoff team at the time of him taking over to the first round of the playoffs and basically almost won against what we think is probably a top 3 team in the AFC.
Yeah.
On the road. I think that's an automatic hire if you're doing things right in Las Vegas. Unfortunately, with how they handled the Mike Mayock situation, I think it's pretty clear that all Mark Davis is a rich guy's son. He doesn't really have qualifications to sign GMs and head coaches to jobs. What are his qualifications other than being born into the Davis family?
I don't have any, Matt. You?
He's got a really funny haircut.
That's
he
true.
does have a very funny haircut.
Looks like Chucky's little brother.
Yep.
And how hard do you think it's going to be for Bisaccia, and both of you can take a crack at this, for him to return now that Mayock isn't still in place? Because I thought Mayock was going to be Bisaccia's saving grace to keep that job.
I mean, I think it's clear that he's probably on his way out.
Yeah.
Especially with Mayock leaving. It's just interesting. It's sad to see because I am somewhat of a Raiders fan just because I think the NFL is cooler when the Raiders are good.
Yep.
And I think that they were on the upswing, and Mark Davis is going to step in and basically blow it up for no reason. So
that's tough because I think, and Derek Carr has come out and said as well, I believe, that he wanted to see who his front office and head coaching staff was going to be before he'd re-sign any kind of contract or wanted to get out of Vegas. And I get it. Max Crosby's a good player. Darren Waller, good player. Like, they've got some guys in that locker room that obviously want to be there. But Derek Carr at this point is the driving force on that football team. And to lose him would be, 3, 4, 5 steps backwards at this point. Look at the quarterbacks that they're going to have to be going up against in that division for the next 10 years.
Right. Well, on the flip side, speaking of a guy who's going to be around for the next 10 years, number 9, Joey Burrow, showed up again. I think he just might be the next Brady.
Yeah,
I don't know if this is going to be his first one this year just yet, but I think that is going to be the leading quarterback in the league for years to come.
I think he's going to be somebody who's going to be around and plays at a incredibly competitive level. Like, I don't think situations are ever going to get away from him. I'm interested in, my only doubt is the Bengals are going to bangle at some point, right? Like, they had all those years with Palmer and Ocho and Cedric.
I just don't see this as the Cincinnati Bengals anymore.
Matt?
Well, two things. I think the Raiders are definitely cleaning house from the whole John Gruden situation. So I think they definitely don't want to keep any of that around. And then the Bengals, man, I've seen the Bengals blow it in the first round of the playoffs as pretty much long as I can remember at this point. And Joe Burrow won them their first playoff game in his first playoff game.
Yeah.
So when you think about it that way, man, I think he's changing the culture around there. I don't think it is the same anymore. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but, man, who knows? It's possible. We could be sitting here in a few weeks talking about the Bengals going to the Super Bowl. It's definitely possible.
Well, thanks for leading me into that tease. So we will get to who the Bengals are going to be facing this week as we move forward, obviously. Stay tuned for that stuff because we'll get to see just if they are going to advance in the playoffs based on all of our opinions from there. But, yeah, that was really the first decent game of the weekend and one of the only ones, because then we move into the night game, which was Patriots at the Bills. And you want to talk about a team that looked like it was severely just talent outmatched? Oh my God. That was week 1 or week 2 Buffalo Bills team where the Patriots came in and literally just ran into a buzzsaw. Like, it was so bad. Understand that at this point, there have been guys like Colin Cowherd and other good analysts out there in sports media that are calling for Bill Belichick to get rid of Mac Jones. Like, that was a statement that was addressed on national media. It was so bad. I've never seen the Patriots get outmatched like that.
Mac Jones is what he is. He's a good game manager, and that's about it. He's never going to be the guy who wins a football game for you, in my opinion. He's never going to throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns and just carry the team to victory. And I didn't think that their recipe for success was that bad. They did have a great defense, a decent running game, and then a game-managing quarterback. Especially as a rookie, you had a shot and you made the playoffs. But when you play a team that is as star-studded and talented as the Buffalo Bills, just the fact that they played a perfect offensive game with basically every drive ending in a touchdown until their last drive, which ended in them running out the clock, it's pretty tough to beat that.
I mean, I can't do that on Madden.
No.
And the Bills did it in real life to one of the smartest defensive minds
defenses as
ever.
well. Yep.
Like, did you expect that at all, Matt, going into that game? You obviously weren't here last week, but
They played a few weeks before that, and it was a really good game, but the Buffalo really came to play, so I was just sort of expecting that again. I was expecting a good game, but Buffalo is going to come to play and take out New England because now it's Buffalo's time. It's not what it was anymore. You know what I mean? I feel like they're really trying to set that pace.
Hey, they're going to go to 5 straight Super Bowls now and not win any of them, or what?
I mean, hopefully not for their sake. But yeah, man, no, I was not expecting a blowout like that. That was unbelievable. But at the same time, it kind of makes sense because when you say just the talent-rich team that is the Buffalo Bills and then the New England Patriots, which is like really well coached but not a lot of stars at all.
But it's your cart return guy from Walmart.
And who does Mac Jones? I mean, granted, I do think he's relatively pedestrian. I don't think he's going to go on to be the greatest of all time or anything like that. I don't even know how many more years he's a starter. But who does he have to throw to, you know?
So that was my next question. Does this prompt another big swing in the offseason like we got from Bill Belichick last year? And the only reason I ask that is because if you look at some of the key guys that he's leaned on defense for a very long time, like they brought Kyle Van Noy back, one of their safeties, I believe one of the McCourties is still there, is aging out at this point.
He's like 32.
Their defensive line is not young. Their offensive line in certain spots is not necessarily youthful. They're going to be looking for big money, and they don't currently have receivers, and they're paying a boatload to their tight ends. Are they looking at a small window before having to absolutely just retool this whole thing?
I really don't think so. I think the way that Bill builds his team does require some upkeep and some work every offseason. So you do see him making moves every offseason. But it's the Patriot way, ultimately, right? So he's just going to bring in pieces every year to replace the pieces that he had lost or upgrade different pieces. I think we see this team finish 11-6 in the playoffs next year.
Bill the Builder, can he win it? Bill the Builder,
would
do
be
your
shocked
job.
to see otherwise.
To go off that question, do you guys think Cam Newton would have led to a better team this year?
No.
Do you
I
it would have
think-
been worse.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's a great scheme fit.
Well, it's just funny because you said Mac Jones won't win the game for you, but Cam Newton, granted,
Could win or
he-
lose the game for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's about
And
who you want on your team then, I guess, at that point.
It's very evident that Cam is missing a gear, especially processing wise in the passing game. Now that some of these defenses have developed to learn to guard very creative offensive minds like LaFleur and McVay and some of the guys that weren't necessarily calling offense. Because keep in mind, Cam was a pioneer. Well, the league, so was Russell Westbrook, but we see how well that's going for him in LA. I kind of look at him and Cam in the same vein, like very freakishly athletically talented and ahead of their time, but the way that
Unfortunately,
people,
there's no option to be a sixth man in the NFL.
Right.
Once you're done being a starting quarterback, you're done being a
So
starting quarterback.
comment from Tevin Pittman is actually very well timed. Bills versus Bucks in the Super Bowl. That Bills offense is too explosive. So speaking of the Bucks, that was the next game to roll. The next way to save this clip.
not me.
That's fine. That's fine. I'll take it.
Yeah.
So the next game is Eagles versus Bucks, and I'm sorry I called it.
Yeah, the bye week.
Yeah, it was total bye week. Bucks are just way better. Eagles, in my opinion, didn't belong in the playoffs. The Eagles had the 30th ranked strength of schedule this year and benefited off of that. It's just not a great football team, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers showed it.
So here's what I will say. And I think there was something in that game that long-term bodes well for Philadelphia. The fact that even though they got into this game, they did not move away from the identity of what we wanted, of what that football team is. Think about how the Ravens performed in their first year with a quarterback that was run heavy and really didn't have the arm to carry you through the playoffs, right? Like in that first year, that is very much who Lamar was. And it was a very similar result. They got into a playoff game where they were outmatched and they weren't embarrassed, but they got run out of the building. But they stuck to their identity. So I think if that's who they're truly going to be moving into next season with Jalen Hurts, that you'll see an improved efficiency with how they do their run game. They probably address the defense
That's the
and allow
worry.
less points.
They don't even know if Hurts is going to be like their quarterback next year.
But that's
There's rumors
that's
that
not true. There's no way that's true.
there's rumor that he may not have done well enough, and they may be looking to move on.
Would you keep him, Matt?
Yeah, at this point, I think he's done enough to earn himself another year.
Same.
Build around him. I think he can run the ball.
I'm not
really
saying
well.
that that's my opinion. I'm telling you that is out there. There's rumor in the rumor mill
Jalen Hurts
that
fits.
they may be looking for a different quarterback. They have 3 first-round picks.
Matt?
Speaking of picks, Hurts threw 2 of them.
Yeah,
He's a
true.
prototypical solid quarterback for what this generation needs from a quarterback. That's how I feel. Whether or not you think he's going to be elite, I think the argument could go either way. I mean, I think he proved himself in college to be a really good quarterback, and I think he's been evolving steadily. So I think if the Eagles don't re-sign him, someone else will, and he's probably going to be similar, you know what I mean, in the future, if not getting a little bit better.
If he gets the opportunity
do you
to stay,
think Tua Tagovailoa is a franchise quarterback?
no.
I think he's worth building.
Who
around.
did Jalen Hurts get benched for in college?
I agree. I'm not saying that was the right move there either. So here's my question: if he stays in Philly, and I'm just going to toss this out there, if he stays in Philly and they truly do build an offense around him and let him develop as a passer, which will be my next question, is whether or not you think he has the actual ability to develop as a passer, or if he's just like Sam Darnold and is never going to get it right. Does he not strike you as 2022, the mid 2020s version of Donovan McNabb in Philadelphia? Athletic quarterback, moved around a lot in his career. They built an offense around him that was run heavy and play action oriented. And the Eagles made some good playoff pushes behind an offensive minded head coach. And I don't think Jalen Hurts is that far off of that version of Philadelphia.
I think Jalen Hurts would sell his left nut to be able to throw the football like Donovan McNabb.
I would sell my left nut to be able to
Similar
throw the ball.
thoughts went through my mind.
There's,
Donovan
I'm sorry,
McNabb could throw
but
so well. He was such
Jalen Hurts is probably a better athlete, but Donovan McNabb was an NFL premier quarterback
That's
for
true.
years.
That's true.
I apologize. I don't see that out of Jalen Hurts.
So can he develop into becoming a better? Like, what have you? How closely did you pay attention? But as the quarterback in the room, looking at his struggles in the passing game, I don't think it's his arm strength. Is it?
To
just
be honest,
his
I've seen
processing
the I've
ability,
seen
or
I've
what?
seen the same quarterback from when he was at Alabama to Oklahoma to the NFL.
You don't think he's progressed at all?
I don't. I think
Really?
he gets by on his athletic ability. He does a decent job of pre-snap reading the defense. His improvisation skills are very, elite probably. I just don't see him as being the guy who can truly read the defense, process the information, and get rid of the ball in 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, I guess.
I just don't see it.
I guess. What do we got here? Want to read that off, Mikey?
Yeah, see,
here we go.
I mean, even our resident Eagles fan is not expecting Hurts to be back.
Yeah, but I don't think.
So,
Looking at
I mean, we
Philly's
gotta-
roster, you think Russ is going to want to come? I'm sorry, Dylan, but you really think Russ is going to want to come play in Philadelphia? You think Aaron Rodgers with his
It's
frail
like one of the
shell?
easiest divisions to win.
Well, not you think Aaron Rodgers is going to go there with his thin skin in the way that Philadelphia fans beat up on their players when they have a bad game? No.
I think there's a better chance of Rodgers coming to the Vikings than
Than going to Philly. Come on now.
All right, well, I mean, on the other side of the coin, we do have to talk about how good this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team did look. They didn't have any receivers leave the game early.
I want to see them compete in a game that matters before I start saying that because they do have some injuries that
All
worry
right,
me.
well, we'll save that for later then for our divisional round preview. So
Yep.
moving forward, we got our San Francisco 49ers versus the Dallas Cowboys revival of the rivalry a little bit here. What did you think?
So here was my thought on this game. I went into this game and I was like, this one will actually be fun to watch, right? Dallas should be blank. San Francisco should be blank. Like I was thinking about what the potential of these two teams are. What the reality of these two teams are is what we actually got. The Dallas Cowboys have forever been a team that is star-studded but lacks discipline, shown in the 14 penalties that they got. The San Francisco 49ers are a great team that playoff football on the road, right? Because they can run the ball. They've got a game-managing, efficient quarterback, but they have a head coach that doesn't know when to just stop and take the win. He's always got his pedal to the metal, and in this game as well, it almost cost them an opportunity to beat Dallas. We got exactly what we thought these two teams were, and it was going to be a coin flip no matter what, because if they don't pick up that fourth down or they don't get to 4th and inches or one of these wild things for Shanahan, Dallas probably has enough time to score the ball and win this football game. If Dallas doesn't get consecutive, second and short penalties to go to 3rd and behind the sticks, Dallas probably wins that ball game as well. So I really don't have a whole ton of thoughts on this other than they are who we thought they were, and anybody who thought otherwise was fooling themselves.
I mean, I feel like I called this perfectly.
Yeah?
I knew Dallas wasn't going to win, and I knew they were going to choke it away. Running a quarterback draw with 14 seconds left is the epitome of the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion.
And then for the coaching staff to come out and admit that they called that play. Kellen Moore, thanks for showing up to interview for a Minnesota job. No, thank you.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't totally disagree with the play call. I disagree with the game awareness on Dak to a few things. One, not slide earlier. Just eat up 5-10 yards quick, get the first down, and reset yourself. But I mean, I went to a small little Division III school in Duluth, Minnesota, and played football. And every week we practiced 4-minute offense, 2-minute offense, handing the ball to the referee so they can spot it quicker. Staying in bounds when you needed to stay in bounds. So these are game situations that I can guarantee you that these guys have practiced and preached, and they should know pretty much second nature.
Yeah.
To blame the umpire for running through Dak is, I apologize, an ignorant take on this play.
I would agree.
Dak Prescott, as an NFL quarterback,
That's making $126
for the Dallas
million
Cowboys trying to lead
over the next
a
2 years.
drive to tie the game there, needs to understand he needs to hand the ball to the umpire so he can place it quicker. And I totally see that as just Dallas choking.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's kind of fun to watch Dallas in the playoffs because as
They're
a Vikings
Dallas.
fan, we choke. They choke even more.
Yeah.
So
And that was a great drive to get down the field, too.
It was.
Trent Dilfer has more playoff wins in the last 25 years than the entire Dallas Cowboys franchise. So.
Oh. Ouch. Is that a real
That's a
stat
real
hat?
thing. Trent Dilfer has 4.
Wow.
The Dallas Cowboys have 3. So
That's crazy. Yeah. So the NFL officiating thing, because somebody in the comments is going to be like, man, the refs, right? Like, the only issue I have with this is as a referee, you also have to attempt to put yourself in a situation that the blame can't be put on you as well. Like, there was a lot of questionable refereeing over the course of the weekend already, and then to have this as the cherry on top, right? If you go back and you watch the replay, the back judge, which is the one that's going to run forward and spot the ball, doesn't move from his spot until Dak goes down, even though the play is going the other direction, and you understand that this is a timing situation, right? So if he takes off 3 steps earlier, knowing he's still going to be 15 yards behind the play, Dallas gets the playoff, right? So there are certain things that, like, I'm not going to give NFL officiating a pass on this weekend whatsoever, because should Cincinnati have gotten that touchdown against the Raiders? No, because if they whistle the play dead, it's a dead ball in the air, and it's a replay of down. But they gave it to, so there were mistakes already by the officiating crew, and this is just another one of them where, like, if you don't want anybody to ask questions, maybe just be a tad bit more situationally aware. And they knew they were wrong.
if you want to win a Super Bowl, don't leave the game in the referee's hands.
I agree. I'm not leaning one way or the other for the Niners or the Cowboys. I'm just saying, as NFL officiating as a whole, if you want to draw less questions, if you want to be spotlighted in the media less, if you want people to stop talking about how horrible it is, maybe stop doing horrible shit.
Stop. Why would the NFL want that?
I don't know.
They love drama. They
That's true.
want drama. They want to drum up as much drama as possible.
What about the Bengals Raiders touchdown that was?
It should have been a dead ball.
Whistle.
Yeah, it should have been a dead ball foul, and that touchdown shouldn't have counted.
Exactly.
It should have been a replay of down.
And the Bengals won by a touchdown, and the Raiders were on. They were in the red zone on the last play. So
Like, that's what I mean. Like, I get it. Like, at some point, these guys got to be full time. No more part-time refs in the NFL.
Tevin Pittman, will Jerry Jones use his influence during owners' meetings to try and get the college late game rules into the NFL?
I don't know if he's looking at or if anybody would be looking at implementing college rules, but I do think there's got to be something done for end of game scenarios that put it on technology and take it off the refs, right? In the middle of a game for game speed, that's fine.
I mean, I don't care if we're 20
scenarios.
years in the future. A referee will always have to place the ball at the end of a play, though.
I agree. But you should also be able to look at that and be like, okay, the reason, put it on just to shift the blame, to get past some of this shit. At some point, I think there's going to have to be something that's done there.
I don't think that anything was wrong in that situation, because here's the thing. You're looking at it from a Dallas Cowboys perspective. Look at it from a San Francisco 49ers
saying the same
perspective.
thing if
The
it was
rule
the Niners.
is that the line judge or umpire or whatever his title is, has to touch and place the ball. You basically have one of two things. You can change the rule, and that benefits offenses, or you can keep the rule the same. And the Cowboys just didn't do their job.
And guess what? Because it's the Cowboys and the Niners, I really don't give that.
Yeah,
big
let's
of a
move
rat's
on.
ass about it.
This is a little bit too much airtime for the Cowboys. So we got Big Ben's last game ever, unfortunately, but kind of saw it coming. The Pittsburgh Steelers visited Arrowhead and lost to the Chiefs. What was it, 42-21?
Dogs will be what, Mike?
Dogs?
Damn straight. Congratulations on a good career, Big Ben, but I saw this one coming. That was the playoff Kansas City buzzsaw that we've seen every time that they've made the postseason. Not surprised. That's all I have to say on this.
I'm extremely excited for this Bills-Chiefs matchup.
Me too.
But we'll save that for later.
Me too.
They were just outmatched the entire game. Anything to add?
Not really, man. I mean, you guys saw what it was. It was completely one-sided. I mean, the fact that they even got up to 21 points was.
It was
a
in
gift,
I mean, they were scoring. They were scoring in garbage time. It's not like they were making a game
it
out of
was
it.
over. It was so over.
So last game of the Super Wild Card Weekend was Monday night. Cardinals at Rams. I was really looking forward to this one, and then Sean McVay basically said, "I'm just going to take this one by the, second quarter here." And yeah, I don't know. I thought it was
OBJ's back. OBJ's back.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield is so bad. He
said it.
He had me thinking that OBJ was washed.
He said it. I won that argument. Let's go. Put one on the counter for Nick.
All right, you're up to like 2. So we got Arizona Cardinals at Los Angeles Rams. What was the final score of this one?
A lot to a little.
A lot to a little. I pretty much turned it off when it was 21-0.
How are you Kyler Murray and like that electrifying of a player, and in the middle of a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson motivational speech, throw the shortest interception in NFL playoff history? That will be a clip that man will never live. Dwayne Johnson is the most motivational person on this planet. And that's the clip that you're going to have tagged to the speech that he was trying to give? Yikes. My question coming off of this, because after Cliff Kingsbury has his team fall apart in the stretch again, and I'm sure you guys saw this as well. I read that, but I'm not even going to acknowledge it.
Interesting point.
Sean McVay has lost 75% of his games after the halfway point of every season since he showed up at Texas Tech, dating back to college. His teams lose like 4 of 6, 4 of 7, 5 of 6. Like it's bad down the stretch every year for him. Is it time for the Cardinals to move off Cliff Kingsbury?
Oh, I would say no. I mean, I don't know. I don't see that as I don't see that as a coaching problem when you're outscored 21-0 in like 20 minutes, man. That's an execution problem.
But that's every game.
You're going to blame Cliff Kingsbury for Kyler tossing the ball underhand to a guy wearing the opposite color jersey?
No, but that's every game that they play in that he has coached in. Going back to college, it's a like you said, injured. Like if you get injured once, that's fine. If you get injured twice, it's a trend, right? Like
but just like the injury thing, it may or may not be at fault of the person. So like he could be the unluckiest dude ever. He could have his star player get hurt every year. Like, D-Hop this year.
Go ahead, look up the different seasons as we talk through this, but it's embarrassingly bad. Now, I did hear somebody say as part of a counter argument in college, all of your cupcake games are in the beginning of the season, anyways, right? So you're going to get some easy wins dating back
when you're
to
playing
college,
like South Central Louisiana State.
But
University.
when you compound that with, hey, in the NFL, I'm getting off to these hot starts and getting embarrassed down the stretch with the amount of talent that they have, I don't know if I would be able to stick with that.
I mean, here's the thing. To be honest, I never thought he was that great of a college coach to be promoted to the NFL in the first place. I mean, he had a total record of 35-40 while at Texas Tech. But in his defense, he's been the Cardinals coach for 3 years.
Yes.
5-10-1.
Yep.
8-8. 11-6. From 4th to 3rd to 2nd in the NFC West. If trends are a trend, they should be first in the NFC West next year.
Yeah, I don't know. It was very telling to me. Kyler played ridiculously fast. There were guys, on different broadcasts covering this game all over national media, saying, like even Kurt Warner, somebody's got to get in and settle this kid down. He's playing way too fast.
I mean, I think it goes back to what Dylan Beeks is commenting in right now.
You really think Kyler Murray just isn't as good as everybody believed?
So when you train as a quarterback for a season and you're expecting certain weapons, you can almost change your play style and change how you play that position. So he played a majority of the year with a receiver like D-Hop and basically didn't transition into someone who just truly reads the defense and goes to the open guy.
Possibly.
He played more athlete ball basically the entirety of the season.
Very early Vic.
Yeah, and
that's fair.
This wasn't the Kyler that we have seen, because he didn't have that type of a weapon. So I'm curious to see how he does continue in his development. He basically needs to marry the two, playing I have a better athlete than you and just reading the defense and getting it to the open guy.
Yeah.
So do you think that the Cardinals will be better if they got rid of Cliff Kingsbury next year?
I actually think they would be. I think if they were able to bring in a guy that can truly install. It's been said Cliff Kingsbury's offense consists of 6 plays and then variations off of all of those 6 plays. It's not a deep playbook, right? There's not a lot there. And so the theory is right now that they get into the second half of the seasons that he's playing in, and the tape, there's enough tape out there on it to figure out whatever one wrinkle he's put in that offseason, right? So if you came in and used a guy or put forth a guy with a wealth of offensive knowledge, right? Like a guy like Nathaniel Hackett or a guy like just even Kellen Moore, I think would be,
To counterpoint, sorry, I think that maybe that works for Kyler Murray. And then the other question I'd say is, well, if you want to get rid of Cliff Kingsbury, why wouldn't you want to get rid of Kyler Murray too? Because he was just as much a part of the problem in the final stretch of the season. He really was, man. He had some bad games, and to me, I don't think you get rid of either one of them. I think the NFL has 32 teams, none of which are perfect every week. You know what I mean? I think they have a good squad.
Yeah, I think it's stay the course in Arizona completely, to be honest with you.
It was just a question to be raised because it was all over. It was everywhere. It was everybody's
It's
first
okay. You
question.
can raise it. We're just going to pound it back down.
I do think
Just
Kyler
stay down
Murray
there.
is a better passer than young Michael Vick, too. And, man, I really am a big Michael Vick fan. Don't get me wrong. His arm was unbelievable. But pure passing quarterback ability, I think Kyler's a little bit ahead of where Vick was early or at that stage.
He
of his career.
rolled out in the game and threw a ball 90, not 90 yards, but it was an absolute, it would have been a 94-yard touchdown. It was he threw the ball on the run off his back foot 60-some yards. He's a talented guy.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think it's the system. I think he's got to get into a place where there are some easy reads for him to make on off days.
No change.
You know what I mean? If that comes from I don't think they're going to get rid of him because I think they're probably in that gray area where they're like, fuck, well, we probably have to ride it out another year because we kind of married Kingsbury to Kyler, and we got to wait for both contracts to be up before we make a decision. But there's got to be some
I just
depth
don't think
added.
they're thinking like that at all.
I think
there's steps to this. You totally miss the playoffs. You make the playoffs. You're not going to necessarily win the Super Bowl as you're building up a team in your first playoff appearance.
No.
I think you stay the course. Everything is fine in Arizona. You'll be back in the playoffs next year. Hopefully, you go further than you did this year because if you don't, that's when you are reassessing the situation.
Fair.
Especially with a team like McVay, and especially now that they have Stafford. And,
It's a hell of a team in Los Angeles.
I mean, yeah.
We're gonna get to that, in one of these for the divisional round, just how good were the Rams. I think that's hard to tell based on how bad the Cardinals were in this game. Can you really look at the Rams after knowing just how disjointed that Cardinals team was and go, oh, the Rams are a juggernaut? I can't say that.
Oh, if my name was Tevin Pittman, I could.
I can look at the Rams, regular season, though, and say they're going to be very difficult to deal with unless they have to go to Lambeau Field.
Right. Yeah, that's probably true, too.
All right, let's transition into Nick's favorite segment of the day. What is supposed to be our favorite segment of all time.
Yep. But before we do, let us know what you guys thought on any of the super wild card weekend games. If we don't get to your comments here during the show, we'll get to them on social media. Let's kick on over to this to coach or not to coach segment. So I got access, I'm going to do a whole bit on this, to a dating app or a coaching application app called Coacher. So I was looking at some of the profiles. We're going to have Mike go ahead and read them off, and then we're going to give would you swipe right or swipe left or super like the coach on screen.
All right, so I'm a little out of the swiping game. Remind me, swipe right is good thing?
Well, you can see on the bottom there.
Gotcha.
So first candidate is going to be Todd Bowles. And by the way, if you're listening to this on Spotify right now,
It's hilarious, folks. You
go
gotta find a way to
to
do the
our
video.
Facebook page and actually watch this segment, please.
So did you want me to read these cards again?
Go ahead and read them.
So I got Todd Bowles.
Yep.
He's 58. Defensive coordinator at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Went to Temple University, lives in Holmes Beach, less than a mile away. Convenient.
We'll forget the location, but go ahead and he wrote his bio up for us. We can go through those as well.
So 82 career starts as an undrafted free agent, triple threat as winners go. 3 rings, one as a player, one as an executive, and one as a coach. My D brings championships to the yard. Damn right, it's better than yours.
Damn straight.
All right,
So
that was pretty good.
for Todd Bowles, What are your thoughts on bringing him in as a head coach? We can obviously give your take.
So I'm
on
guessing that's how we're doing this, right? So I'm basically the GM of the Vikings here.
pretty much.
Picking
You're
a
looking
coach.
you're looking at this profile. Are you swiping right to see if you can swap some spicy messages with him and try to get him in house, or are you just going to go ahead and skip on him?
I'm going to swipe right, but I'm going to approach him with a different offer.
Okay.
He's not the girl I want to put a ring on, if you know what I'm saying. But Todd Bowles is possibly a true DC, or you could give him like an assistant head coach type gig to lure him from Tampa Bay. Personally, that's just not what I'm looking for as the next head coach in Minnesota. There's nothing wrong with Todd Bowles as a head coach, but just not what I'm looking for at this moment.
Yeah, so for me, I think it's interesting that he's got one at a ring at the executive level. So he knows the back office. So like if you're going to get somebody who's going to truly have a good, coherent relationship with a general manager, having him have been in that front office and understand that side of things is a big plus, right? There's not a lot of head coaches out there with that on their resume.
Right.
Having one as a player, and then being one that somebody who has one as an undrafted player, as a franchise that has struggled with player development, I think at times bodes well, because he's going to understand where those guys are coming from. And then having one as a coach, getting the rub from Bruce Arians, being in locker room with Tom Brady and Gronkowski, who are bringing over 20 years pretty much of excellence. I would swipe right. And I'd be okay. He's probably one of the only DCs I'd be comfortable with giving a head coaching opportunity to.
I just don't want a defensive minded.
So for me, if swipe right is like and give him an interview, and super like is like we're hiring him, immediate hire, I definitely would swipe right. I think he's worth the interview. I mean, especially if you look at his last head coaching gig with the Jets, it was destined to fail. I mean, everyone who goes to the Jets, unless you're really, really special, man. Even Brett Favre couldn't make it as a New York Jet. So
everybody just implodes in New York.
Pretty much.
Favre was out there sending dick pics.
In theory, I think Todd Bowles is actually a pretty good fit for us, but he's not jumping off the page. And yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate.
Yes, Tevin, Mike did just tell Todd Bowles, it's not you, it's me. This is why I wanted to do this segment.
Yep,
I knew we'd get some
did.
decent reactions. So, all right, I think we got 3 swipe rights for Todd Bowles, and we can move on to the next coach whenever Gabe is ready.
All right, so we got Raheem Morris, 45, defensive coordinator at the Los Angeles Rams. Hofstra University, lives in LA, less than a mile away. Look at that. Convenient. Fourth youngest head coach in NFL history. From Kansas State to Tampa Bay, where he won a ring. Washington, Atlanta to LAR. I like to think my strength covers up my weaknesses.
That's in there, I believe, because Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey probably cover up a lot of what would be any sort of deficiency that he would have as a defensive coordinator.
Surprisingly, I got that one actually right away.
There you go. So what are your thoughts on Raheem Morris?
I'm going to pass.
I would pass as well. The few times that he's been in a situation to be a head coach, it hasn't ended well. You know what I mean? Like we were talking about earlier, like trends, right? Like it's good when he gets there, but it doesn't last very long, it seems, when he's been in those situations before it tends to go south. Right now, I think he's extremely insulated by a lot of talent, a great coaching staff that surrounds him, so on and so forth. So I don't necessarily think he's somebody that I would even, give an interview to, especially with him also being somebody that, once again, is on the defensive side of the ball. We don't really need that right now, and his resume doesn't lead me to believe that even as a defensive coach or minded head coach that he could bring enough to the offense to improve where we're currently at, right? Matt, would you agree?
Yeah, just to echo you guys, I mean, when you have that good of a defense, it's almost like what do you even have to do? You know what I mean? You just have to put them out there. So no, I don't think that's what we need.
Go ahead and swipe left. It'd be so cool if we had that function.
Yep.
Kinda.
All right. Next is Nathaniel Hackett, offense coordinator at the Green Bay Packers, University of California, Davis, lives in Green Bay, less than a mile away.
That's right.
From Buffalo to Jacksonville to Green Bay, my name is a legacy, bruh. If you're the dumbest man in a room full of geniuses, how smart are you?
I don't know. How smart do you think Nathaniel Hackett really is?
Not smart at all. I think it's number 12 and Mike LaFleur.
That was
Matt
my
LaFleur.
that was my biggest concern.
LaFleur.
When Hackett began to get some steam, right? Like, yeah, hire him as a true offensive coordinator, maybe with a defensive-minded head coach. Let's see how smart he is. Like, he's one of those guys that you maybe give an assistant head coaching position to and reins of the offense. I'm not giving him control of my entire team. I don't even know if he knows how to develop an offense on his own yet. I don't know if he's gotten the rub from LaFleur or from Rodgers. And those guys are wicked smart. You know what I mean? So, and I get it. Yeah, his dad was a head coach in the NFL. But like, I want to see a little bit more independence from you before I just hand you the keys to the franchise. That, in my opinion.
I mean, there are definitely sometimes, coaches make the player.
You're going to tell me that
this is going to be players making the coach.
There we go. Matt?
I mean, I think it's a lot like the last one, to be honest with you. I think good coordinator, not really. I think he should stay where he's at. I don't think he's our man. I think we need a special head coach. We need a curse breaker.
Yeah.
He's
Do you
no
think
curse
he gets a
breaker.
job anywhere?
Yeah, because the NFL has a ton of idiots.
Yeah, let
Have
him
you
go.
met the New York
Yeah, I
Jets?
was gonna say, let him go to the Jets. He'll be great.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. I think actually he'd be a good candidate for the Carolina open OC position. With them,
But
having,
why? I just don't know why you would take a lateral move. Why would you leave Green Bay as the OC?
it's technically a
to go to
promotion. It's
Carolina as
technically
the
a
OC.
promotion for him. If he's smart, he understands that having
I mean,
independent
sure, like he
control
might
of
be
the
able
offense.
to call plays, but again, I don't know.
I don't think Carolina has a lot to offer right now, other than McCaffrey, basically.
They have Christian McCaffrey like 6 out of 17 games. What are you talking about?
And those 6 games are lit, but other than that,
All right, so Tevin is now cracking dad jokes. Gabe, we might want to check on him.
I don't get it, you guys. No, I'm just
Tevin Pittman,
I think he has a child announcement coming or something like that.
I'd
This is
say to hire the
jarring.
OC from Green Bay, but he probably can't hack it.
That needs to be on a T-shirt. And by the way, if we hired him, there would always and he was a special coach. I would feel that our first Super Bowl would be very tainted getting it from a Green Bay offensive coordinator. That doesn't sit well with me.
What about when Favre was going for the
I mean,
Super Bowl? Was that
Now he had the
You
Jets.
know the
before
trophy that we're
Minnesota.
trying to win is called the Lombardi, though, right?
Yeah, and to win it with a
It's always going to be it's named Lombardi. It's
Okay,
going to be
that's why we haven't
tainted
won a
either
Super
way.
Bowl.
it needs to be called the fucking Brady.
Yeah,
at this point.
agreed.
So
All right, moving on. We're going to swipe left on Nathaniel Hackett. Get out of
hey,
here.
it worked that time.
Whoa, Jim Caldwell. How you doing, bud?
What a great
Jim
picture.
Caldwell is
Showing off that
67.
timepiece.
Yep. He's unemployed currently at the NFL. Went to the University of Iowa. Lives in Beloit. That's like southern Wisconsin, I'm
That
pretty
is.
sure. Less than a mile away. Been in the locker room with the best of them. Been the head coach of the worst, period. From, I believe it's Indianapolis
Yep.
to Baltimore to Detroit to Miami.
I wonder
Rings in Indy and Baltimore. I was a clown in Detroit, and my head hurt in Miami.
He stepped away for health issues, I believe, in 2019.
Someone just tell me if I'm too old for this shit.
That would be my honest opinion on Jim Caldwell. Like, I don't know on him anymore. When was the last time that like a team was good and you were looking at him as, oh, the offense or the defense is good because of Jim Caldwell? Like,
Since Baltimore, probably.
yeah. And guess who took over him?
Actually,
for him?
probably Indy, if I'm being honest. I think it was more players in Baltimore.
Well, I think it was more coaching staff in Indianapolis. He was with Dungy and Peyton.
And Peyton. But,
I mean, honestly,
I mean, is he just Nathaniel Hackett 30 years down the road?
what I was just gonna say is I think he has shown to be good, but I don't think he's really shown to be elite on his own. I mean, he's about the same age as Bill Belichick. Where would you rate him next to Bill Belichick?
Last.
And that's what I mean. Is
I
like-
mean, you're also comparing any coach ever against Bill Belichick, and Belichick is going to win. But
yeah, but
yeah.
when you think about a 45-year-old coach or a 50-even-year-old coach, you're like, well, by then maybe, you know what I mean? And
Right.
when you look at a guy who's been there, done that, it's like,
Especially in Minnesota. Look at how
Again.
quickly we aged Zimmer. Zim came to us with brown hair.
he looked
He
pretty
left
bright-eyed
as
and bushy-tailed.
a
mean, you
crotchety old man.
that's on him, though. He got crotchety.
He was always a little crotchety.
All right. I am, for his own health reasons, going to swipe left.
Yeah, I don't think. Nice watch, though, Jim. Good try. We appreciate it. Yes, you are too old for this
I don't
shit.
hate the guy.
Are you
I
actually
mean,
talking about his watch, though? That's my question.
I like his timepiece, yeah.
Okay.
It was a nice watch. He had a leather watch with a blue face on.
I'm just saying.
A little gold
You say
trimming.
nice watch to a guy. It's not necessarily what you mean.
Really?
Yeah.
Since
All
when?
right, Mike.
You've never heard that?
If you're standing at a urinal, it's weird. Otherwise, it's normal.
All right.
Oh, I
Swipe
get it.
left
I get it.
whenever
I get
we're
it.
ready. All right. So this is one that I still don't know about. Eric Bieniemy, 52, offense coordinator at the Kansas City Chiefs, University of Colorado Boulder. He was a Buffalo, I believe they're called.
Yep.
Lives in Kansas City, less than a mile away. Formerly Eric Sleeping with Bieniemy.
Nickname minted to him by Chris Berman.
All right, I like that. Ask Jamal and AD about me.
Head coach or running backs coach for both Jamal Adams and Adrian Peterson here in Minnesota.
Yep. From Minnesota to Colorado to Kansas City. Won a national championship in 1990 and a Super Bowl in 2019 with the Kansas City Chiefs. Is he not just the same? It's Andy Reid really doing the work and then Patrick Mahomes on the field.
Right. Which is why, and especially with a team like Minnesota who's so close to being like
I'd like
the
it-
roster is so close to being Super Bowl ready. Like, can you really step out on a limb with a guy that has been shadowed by Andy Reid and has Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and, you know, like everything that he has.
No, I mean,
he's in the
I totally
perfect
agree. This is
scenario.
why I'm not sold on him. This is why he isn't my favorite. To
He
be
was-
honest,
yeah.
I have my favorite, and you'll know when we see him. I know playing these swipe games that I just
Would you get?
I'll find him when I see him.
Does he get a job somewhere? Because
Yes,
he's been a name for the last
definitely.
3 years that everybody's been outraged that he hasn't gotten a job.
I think this is the offseason where he gets hired, especially if Kansas City does what I think that they're going to do.
I have a sneaky suspicion that he is Andy Reid's Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, I mean that's a great comparison.
Like he's going to be
He's
there
gonna
until
go somewhere.
Andy leaves.
He's going to go maybe 400 to 500 winning percentage, and then he might even come back to Kansas City and join Andy Reid for a few more years.
and he'll succeed him when Andy decides to step away from football. That would be my opinion on Eric Bieniemy. Matt, anything to add?
Not really. I think to myself, like, is he a curse breaker? Is he going to be the guy to come and break the curse? And to me, it's like, it's sort of funny because I feel like everyone always plays the who is responsible for winning games, big games, especially in Kansas City. They're like, oh, is it Mahomes? Is it Andy Reid? Because a lot of people are down on Mahomes, especially because he had a rough start to this year and stuff like that. People are really quick to turn on anybody. But, man, when I just think about it, I don't want to see the high-powered offensive court, like, the OC with a high-powered offense. I want to see who's the OC in, Cincinnati, who turned that team around.
Right.
Who is the OC in, Oakland or something. Like, a
Yeah.
team that has gone through their hard times and still made it work.
Oh, you're going to like my pick.
Because that's what we need.
You're going to like my
All right,
pick.
so we're just going to go ahead. We have breaking news.
Oh, Dougie P.
Now I get the sound. Here we go.
Doug Peterson, 53 years old, unemployed at the NFL, University of Louisiana at Monroe, lives in Ferndale, less than a mile away. Sports, football, and outdoors. Journeyman QB with 13 years experience, second best backup quarterback, number 4, as ever had. He did back up Brett Favre for a little bit in Green Bay.
That's right.
He does have a ring as a player and as a coach. All that losing shit is for the birds, as he won a ring with the Eagles. Author of Fearless, if it matters.
I wonder if he's upset with Philly at that comment.
I mean, there's got to be some animosity there between Dougie P and Philly.
Yeah. They like ran him out of town.
Yeah, and I think he was probably giving him the bird on his way out as well.
Yep, I would agree there.
So that is actually the biggest thing about him is I want to know, as the GM, I want to know exactly what did happen in Philadelphia.
right.
There's a lot of speculation, a lot of he said, she said
Right.
with the situation. And I want to know exactly what happened because I don't want a repeat of that situation here in Minnesota. He is my number 2 candidate. So I'm going to go ahead and give Dougie P the right swipe. Just someone who I think can motivate men and elevate the level of play in the locker room. And I think with the amount of talent that we have, I think I'm going to steal it right from Dylan Beeks' comment last week. I saw what he did with a Philly team that I didn't think was that good, and what I think he could do with this team could be scary.
Yeah, so here's my opinion on Doug Peterson. I think he's the only candidate out there that if we were to stick with Kirk Cousins for another year could help him make that step, right? Like 13 years of backup quarterback experience. You've seen what Carson Wentz has looked like without Doug Peterson. Not great, even in his reunion with Frank Reich. Right? Like, okay, so we understand that he's got the quarterback thing figured out. He's probably also Kellen Mond's best chance if you were to want to give a run at developing him. Okay, so that's 2 pluses. He knows how to win. He's done it. He did it against Belichick in a game with a backup quarterback, so you know he knows how to face adversity. The only thing that I would disagree with is there's a lot of talk about if you're going to bring in a Philly coach, you got to bring in the Philly front office. That's what got him in trouble, right? Like we were talking about it last week.
Yeah, but I'd like to see Raichi, who wasn't part of that front office that really ran him out of town.
But she was a part of that front office that drafted horribly in front of the Minnesota Vikings for 2 years in a row and wound up in real bad choices, which is what made that roster so thin that created issues with the front office. He's my number one candidate if it's not another Eagles personnel in the front office, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because I think there's got to be some shared blame there with that and understanding that we tried that and it already didn't work. We don't need to go back down that road, giving more power to, the front office or the GM in that scenario.
Truth be told, I think there might be some beef here. I don't know how much Anthony Barr.
Where's the beef?
Losing 37-7 in 2017. I don't know how much Kendricks and Barr and them would love this. You know what I mean? Like
you're assuming that the majority, especially Anthony Barr, is going to be back with the team next year.
I think, yeah.
I don't.
You don't think any of them are going to be back?
Kendrick probably going to be
Barr
here.
will not be back.
Anthony Barr will not be back
next year.
You think they're just going to trade him away or what?
His contract's up.
I thought he was still under contract.
No, this was his last year.
What about when the
Jets
were going to sign him and all that?
They moved a bunch of his money forward into his deal to void his last year.
Well, I guess that puts a hole in that theory. Well, I don't know. Me personally,
You just don't see the players responding well
super well, no, because like I said,
because he beat their ass.
and they weren't like cool about it. Like there was a lot of animosity in that game, and I hate the Philadelphia Eagles, man.
Hey, I don't care if it's a
It's like-
spite Super Bowl. I want a Super Bowl. I don't care if it's win one and we hated him so much we had to fire him. I want a fucking
It's
Super
got to
Bowl.
be the perfect storm. Brett Favre, for instance, was the perfect storm, man. And like Doug Peterson, I just feel like it brings in bad juju.
I'm giving him the super like.
Nah, bringing in Juju Smith-Schuster would be bringing in bad juju. All right, moving on. Let's go to the next one. Here we go.
Who's next on coacher there, Gabe? Oh, look, it's Dabo. Look at that. Look at that.
All right. Danilo Sweeney?
It's supposed to say Dabo.
Dabo Sweeney. All
No
right.
time to spell check.
NCAA head coach at Clemson Tigers. University of Alabama, lives in Clemson, less than a mile away. The only guy who's ever outsmarted NCAA's Bill Belichick twice. People tell me I'm great with kids. With an emoji that makes me concerned to send my kid to Clemson. I'm just here because I miss Trevor and Deshaun. I think that he is going to be a great head coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I really do. I think that is truly his landing spot at this point. Like, I don't see him going anywhere. I
mean,
wouldn't see
Clemson had a
reason
down
for him
year.
to
I
leave
don't
Clemson.
see him rebounding them into the powerhouse that he had them at.
Right.
With Trevor and Deshaun, and he had a run of a few quarterbacks. I just don't see that being repeated in Clemson, South Carolina. So I do see him probably making the switch to the NFL. The best scenario for him would be to reunite with Trevor Lawrence, in my opinion, in Jacksonville.
You think that Jacksonville would do the college experiment again?
We
I
kind
think
of
they'd
talked
be so
about
gun shy on that though.
If anybody's dumb enough to do it twice in a row, it would be like the Jets or Jacksonville or a team that is constantly losing football games.
Well, here's the thing. There's very minimal options for Dabo Sweeney to make this work, right? I think in Jacksonville especially, we talked about this last week. He would be the exception to the rule. Like usually you wouldn't go back to back, but you look at, okay, Trevor was with him for 3 years already.
Right.
Etienne was with him for 3 years.
I mean, and just
culture.
culture-wise too, and just character-wise, this is pretty much the other side of the coin from Urban Meyer.
Yeah. Very player first, super like the Dabo drip. Like he'll dance in the locker room, super player first.
I would say extremely religious guy.
Yeah.
So his just morals are a little bit different than getting a lap dance from a stranger, you know.
No chop house action.
All
I
that
was trying to help her
all that
find her
aside.
keys.
Trying to help her find her. I want to know where she was hiding her keys then.
She was having him check her back pockets
She sat on him.
with his groin.
Matt?
No, what I was going to say is I think Urban Meyer has been shown at this point to be a product of Ohio State rather than Ohio State being a product of Urban Meyer, whereas Clemson is a product of that guy. I'm
Of
sorry,
Dabo?
I already forgot his name because you had the wrong one up there. I know because I've still watched Clemson. I just forgot the guy's name.
Dabo Sweeney.
It's definitely Clemson is his product. He is not Clemson's product. And I think if he goes to Jacksonville, he certainly has a good chance to recreate that. I really do.
So my other question is, because there's only one other scenario in which I see Dabo Sweeney leaving Clemson. Houston. They fired David Culley. You not bring him in and satisfy his other college quarterback in Deshaun Watson in a system that he was super successful in?
Do you think Deshaun Watson would even play for
Deshaun Watson will never play quarterback for the Houston Texans again, so that will not happen.
I'm just, okay.
No, we can move on.
But if
No,
you want, okay,
it's
so
over.
let's say if you're a team that wants to go get Deshaun Watson, does hiring Dabo Sweeney help you in that process?
Depends on who it is.
Yeah, I think
Minnesota.
it's-
You want to go Kirk for like he gets cleared of it, obviously post Super Bowl. We haven't selected a coach yet. As the Vikings, do you go? We have enough value to go ahead and trade for him because Kirk and Deshaun's contracts are pretty similar. We've got some other pieces that we can actually move to free up some cap room and bring, anything that we like from Houston back. Is that a viable option to bring him in as your coach?
I'm going to say no. I don't personally want the Vikings ran by a former college coach. I just don't see that working here.
Who's the
personally.
last successful college coach?
Pete Carroll.
Well, would you say Harbaugh was too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would.
Pete Carroll more recently, but yeah, Harbaugh's in that conversation as well. And I don't think he's leaving Michigan.
Pete Carroll, a coach or a player's coach? Would you say?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to think how many guys have made the jump who are players coaches versus the
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
authoritarians.
I think they are more successful typically if they are player coaches. You just look at Nick Saban, who's probably the best ever collegiate coach, and he failed miserably in the NFL.
You can't be a hard ass. They're not. You can't be the drill
And I
sergeant.
I think
in college.
Urban Meyer wants us to think that he's a player's coach, but
He's
I don't
not.
think he truly cares.
He's not.
He's
so
not
full
either.
of shit. No.
Yeah.
But look at Mike Zimmer. I think that's about as hard-assed as you can possibly be as an NFL head coach.
super hard ass.
Exactly. But, he gets the respect, though. It's not that he is a player's coach
He
who's
did
also
get
a
it.
hard-ass.
He did get it until he lost it.
No, I know. We're past it now. But
So
I'm
personally,
stuck in the past.
I am going to swipe left.
Swiping right.
I give him an interview swipe right.
There we go. Let's go. All right.
So
who's next?
speaking of hard asses who disconnect or like a Zimmer type situation.
Yeah, even his picture looks kind of scowly. Who is this, Mike?
He is.
So this is Brian Flores, 40 years old, unemployed currently for the NFL.
Surprise, surprise.
Boston College, lives in New York, less than a mile away. Two pieces of life advice. Don't believe everything you read on the internet, and when they tell you, you can swim with the dolphins. All right.
Yeah.
It's all right. All right. Got rings like LeBron. He's got 4 of them. I'm a Giants and Mets fan. Sorry, not sorry. I apologize, but this is going to be the hardest and fastest swipe left of the segment here. This would be Mike Zimmer 2.0. It would be a continuation of the problems that we had with Zimmer.
Yep.
Honestly,
deserves-
from the stories that I'm hearing from Miami, this man acted like a child at times because he basically wasn't getting his way and he was throwing a tantrum.
Did you read that he didn't talk to his quarterbacks or whatever since Thanksgiving?
Yep.
Basically.
Yeah, I mean,
That's insane.
that's clearly false.
Hard to
right?
believe, yeah.
But
But if there's
to an extent,
truth to it,
there's always some truth to it, right? Yeah, exactly. So, like, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he was doing the whole Mike Zimmer thing where he was just ignoring him in the hallway.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach Flores. Just walks straight by him.
It's so surprising to me just how bad the Bill Belichick coaching tree is. It's awful.
They're great branches, but they're not good trunks.
Yeah, they don't create great other tree. They're not,
Yeah.
Bill Belichick is the only tree in that forest, all right? Like, holy shit, man. It's so bad. Eric Bieniemy deserves a defensive
Does
coordinator.
that say something about Belichick as a coach?
Yeah, I believe it does.
I
Or
think
at
you
least-
could say also that it's guys who are trying to act like it. Guys who are not Bill Belichick going places and trying to be Bill Belichick in a
Right.
sense,
Agreed.
getting
Matt
out of their
Patricia.
depth.
respect is earned, not given. When you go into a new organization, until you learn to win and then build a culture around winning, you can't be that guy. Like,
Right.
period. Does he get another opportunity? Because he's going to be at the top of a lot of people's lists.
I think he does.
Vegas.
I was actually going to say I wouldn't be surprised to see him in Vegas.
That was my first thought, was getting him in Vegas.
So
All right.
I'm definitely swiping left on that, though. That's like a strong dislike.
Yeah, swipe left for me as well.
All right.
Who's next? Got a couple more. Ooh, Brian Daboll. What a performance.
I'm sorry, what?
Brian Daboll, what a performance.
Brian Dable, 46. Sorry, I'm a
Flustered. Mike's blushing
offensive
over
coordinator
here.
at the Buffalo Bills, University of Rochester, lives in Buffalo, less than a mile away. Roll Tide, 17 natty. Championship pedigree, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with New England. From New England to New York, Jets, Cleveland, Miami, Kansas City, New England, Alabama, and Buffalo. If you can't chuck it,
Fuck it. That's kind of, I guess, been the, yeah, I was going to say, this would be the only offensive coordinator that I would give a true head coaching opportunity to and hand the keys to the franchise over with. I think he probably got the rub from,
You can get the rub from me.
oh, Jesus.
Good job.
Jesus Christ.
I've never seen Mike so sweaty in my life.
Anything to bring this guy in.
Hey, Brian Dable, can you come coach my football team, please?
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, but like you look at all of the different organizations that he's been in. I'm sure he's picked up what to do and what not to do. He's been in-house with the early portion of the Tom Brady-led Patriots, which were very defensive-minded, even though he's a guy who sits on the offensive side of the ball. He's been with Belichick. He's been with Saban. He is the one that is truly running that offense in Buffalo. He's the one that's responsible for, I'm sure, a lot of Josh Allen's development. They have made it work every year with different aging wide receiver weapons. The offensive line has played well. And the only thing that they haven't done is been able to find a good running game to pair with it. But we
So-
already have Dalvin Cook.
If we get Brian Dable, I kind of want us to try to draft Kenny Pickett
A little bit, yeah.
because that would be,
Very Allen-esque.
it would be freaking awesome.
Yep.
It'd be fun to watch at least.
So that's
Thoughts on Brian Dable?
I definitely think he's the most interesting coordinator that there is. It's just funny though, because you guys were just saying how cursed Belichick's coaching tree is, and he was technically a part of.
But
Belichick's
he's
coaching
Belichick
tree.
and Saban coaching.
and a
You guys were
million
just saying how
other
Saban
places.
couldn't coach in the NFL. I think that this guy, I definitely think he could be a really good coach, and I do think that the Buffalo offense, while being high-powered, I think that he is probably a huge part of their success.
I mean, he just literally batted a perfect game basically against his former coach in Belichick. Like,
And I think there's something to
I
be
don't
said
know,
about.
man.
I think there's something to be said about how far he is removed from his Belichick coaching days. Right,
Right.
Like he was there early, which was probably the best thing for him. But since then, instead of taking a head coaching job and failing like all of these other assistant coach, offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, tight end coach, and all of a sudden, boom, now he's ready to go.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think if there was a right path to take as a Patriots assistant that was looking to make it, this is probably the road that should be most frequently traveled. Yeah, be there for the winning. Understand the culture. Learn how to be a coach and run day-to-day operations from Belichick. And then go other places and find out what other pieces of culture players like and don't like and build your coaching, credentials around that. Makes him the drool at the mouth candidate for me for the Minnesota Vikings.
All right. And the next coach.
Oh, look, it's Billy O'Stooge.
Do we got to discuss this?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, God.
Bill O'Brien, 52, offense coordinator at NCAA. Where is he at right now?
Bama.
Bama, that's correct. Yeah, he's not doing fucking anything other than winning right on the sideline. Let's be honest. He's at Brown University.
He was
lives
in the box
Boston.
this year.
I don't know how he lives in Boston and coaches for Bama, but he finds a way. All my exes live in Texas. That was a good joke on his horrible run as basically head coach and GM of the Houston Texans. Roll damn Tide or whatever, and that's about him calling plays on Saturdays for the Crimson Tide. Billy B and Nick Saban never won with me on staff. Yeah, you're awful, dude. And you know what? I just really don't like your face, so I'm swiping left, and that's all I have to say about that.
So is the second line of that song there, so all of his exes live in Texas, is it also some of my quarterbacks have infections at this point, or what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, that's fair. But apparently we are running way long, so we'll have you guys comment in and let us know what you think on the head coaching candidates for around the NFL. Let us know if you guys like the segments. We will get back to you in the comment section after the show. We're going to go ahead and breeze through the divisional round playoffs and then break down a little bit of UFC 273. So let's fly through this. On Saturday, we do have Cincinnati at Tennessee at 4:30. Score prediction and why?
I'm going to take Tennessee 24, Cincy 21. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go the other way, but Tennessee's just the one seed for a reason.
Yeah, Tennessee 7-2 at home. But this is the first time that you're going to see Burrow get ball controlled. Like, It's going to be one of those games where Tennessee beats them 21-16. Like, it'll be close, but it's going to be something where Tennessee has their fingerprints all over the game and is in control pretty much the entire time.
Right. Matt?
I think especially now with Derrick Henry, man, they're going to just be up one touchdown the whole game.
With fresh legs, it's going to be a tough one to beat. So, what do we got next, Mikey?
San Francisco Niners at Green Bay Packers is the Saturday evening game. I personally have the Niners winning. I have thought it all season long. I'll argue with anybody. The Packers are not that great of a football team. Mm-hmm. I think the Niners run through them like sliced cheese. Let's go Niners 28, Packers 21.
I think just because of the amount of injuries that San Francisco has right now on defense, how banged up Jimmy Garoppolo is, and the fact that Kyle Shanahan has proven again he can't he can't close football games, that this is going to be another one of those scenarios where we come in next week and we're going, oh, the Packers got lucky because didn't play, right? I do think the Packers win here 31-20 against San Francisco and go ahead and move on in the playoffs.
I'm going 35-21 Packers. I think they're going to run all over the 49ers.
You know what? I think Matt's going to do real well at his UFC picks.
Sunday afternoon, I can't even listen to you two picking the Packers. Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m., Los Angeles Rams at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Unfortunately, I can't believe I'm doing this. This was my Super Bowl pick. I am going to pick the Rams. After the development of Tristan Wirfs last week and his ankle basically just not working for him, I think the Rams are going to apply a little bit too much pressure for Tom, and the Rams are going to get away with the victory. Let's go 28-21.
Probably a high-scoring affair because Brady will keep them in this ball game, in my opinion. But the recipe has always been if you can get to Brady, you've got a chance. Aaron Donald and Von Miller looked fantastic in that game against the Cardinals, and Kyler Murray has all sorts of mobility. I'm sure they'll be able to hem up Tom Brady in a very similar fashion, if not even better. And the Rams were the worst matchup that Tampa Bay could have drawn in week 2 and moving forward, I guess, in the divisional round of the playoffs, because they are thin at secondary, and Odell Beckham and Cooper Kupp and Higbee and Cam Akers and Sony Michel and all the weapons that they have it's a bad look for Tampa Bay's defense, and I think they're going to get outmatched. I got it as a 34-31 Los Angeles Rams win.
I think Tom and the control that he brings is just going to be too much for Stafford and the Rams, and I think they're going to fold under it, man. And I think while Tampa Bay does have some injuries in the secondary, man, their secondary is deep. Like every player they have in the secondary is super good. So I think that they're going to manage, and I think they're going to win like 31-28, maybe even with like a touchdown from Tom in the last 30 seconds.
We were going to be friends today.
All right, and then the last game of the NFL divisional round. Buffalo Bills at the Kansas City Chiefs, the rematch we've all been waiting for. I'm going to select the winner of this game as myself because I get to watch it.
I think that's everybody that gets to tune into this game. It was fun when we watched them play in a torrential downpour earlier this season,
Right.
even though Buffalo ran them out of the building, right? But it's so hard to pick against Kansas City. They're going to be playing at home. It's going to be loud. It's going to be rowdy. Just a bad matchup for Buffalo, in my opinion. I had this as such a quarterback. This is just a matchup of who's going to play better at Q, in my opinion, in this game. Like, who's going to get the lucky break. I got 24-28 Kansas City. I have a hard time picking against Buffalo, though.
I think the only reason that I'm not picking Buffalo to dominate this game is because they're playing at Kansas City. So I do think it's going to be really close and probably fairly high scoring, but I think Kansas City gets it done in the end, 31-28, something like that.
So I'm going to absolutely sprint through our Wild Wolf Watch really quick. So the Wolves split 2 games apiece the last time we saw you, and moving forward, they have
A very tough schedule.
a very tough schedule with a Western Coast road trip. The Wild split the 2 games from the last time we checked in. They did get a point from the tough loss against Colorado.
Called it.
And their upcoming schedule contains Chicago Blackhawks again on the 22nd, and then the Canucks on the 24th. And that should be at home, so it should be played.
And we should have Spurgeon back on Saturday, I believe, after the
Yes.
Blackhawks game, ready for the road trip version of that series.
And we apologize for our viewers that, like our Wild Wolf Watch, we are just running a little short on time due to a little bit of a delayed start today. So we are going to swing on over to our final segment of the day, the reason that Matt is in studio with us. So we are going to do UFC 270. I'm talking a lot right now because you're not going to hear me talk a lot during this segment. So I'll give it over to Nick and Matt for UFC 270.
Yeah, so they're going to open the year with what everybody assumes is going to be a banger of a card. In my opinion, is really top heavy. I think the 2 matchups that you're going to get in the main event are going to be the 2 that everybody tunes in for, but there isn't really a lot of depth, especially with what we found out before the show, a scratch coming from one of the matchups that a lot of people were going to want to see on the prelims. But I wanted to get your opinion, first of all, on this Francis Ngannou-Ciryl Gane fight. In my opinion, Ciryl Gane is the next breed of heavyweight. And as much as I love the nuclear option that Ngannou brings to the table, Ciryl Gane with his speed, his distance, he reminds me of a boxer like Canelo. Like, you can't hit him because he's almost always just at the end of your punch. And then the minute that you think or you leave any kind of opening, he just starts to pick you apart and then wears you down and beats you. It's just... He's like they said it in the promo. The guy operates like a robot. The way he processes information. What do you expect to see out of this? It's a very interesting matchup to me.
Well, there's a lot of talk about John Jones being the next fight. Who's going to fight the winner of these 2?
Right.
And the reason I say that is because I think that the last time we saw a guy run through competition this much was John Jones, and
Right.
I do think Ciryl Gane is the most dangerous. Certainly the most dangerous threat to Francis Ngannou's throne, man. And the thing about Francis is he does have the nuclear option. He can always clip somebody and knock them out, but in this particular case, man, especially because Francis' last fight was against Stipe, and I don't think he's nearly as elusive or as creative with his striking. I think Ciryl Gane wins maybe... I'm expecting him to win a decision, but he might be able to get him out of there late, like a 4th round.
That's what I was thinking too. Like, it's got the way he dissected Derek Lewis.
But you got to remember, Derek Lewis and Ngannou are not the same.
No, they're absolutely not. But Derek Lewis is very much he's got that nuclear option too. I mean, the guy's got the UFC record for knockouts for a reason,
absolutely.
right? Like, if you were if he was gonna be clipped by a guy of that that ilk, it should have been Derek Lewis. Now, I think Francis Ngannou obviously has a little bit more to his game than what Derek Lewis does.
Yeah.
But especially with Francis's old coach in his corner, his coach is going to know if Gane takes him into deep waters, which we have not seen Ngannou do a whole lot. His coach is going to know exactly what basics or who he's going to fall back into being, like all athletes do when they're tired. Mm-hmm. And the longer this fight goes, the worse it gets for Ngannou, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ngannou's best chance is definitely to have a 1st round knockout against Ciryl, because honestly, even if it reaches the 2nd round, he's going to start feeling the pressure, and it's just going to get worse and worse, and he's going to start swinging more and more wild, and that's where Cyril could come in and get a finish on him.
Can Cyril grapple?
Oh yeah, he's definitely
Okay.
He's had submission wins in the UFC.
Really?
Yes.
I got a question, if you don't mind me cutting in. I got questions for this guest I've wanted to have in so bad.
Have at it, Gabe.
So I agree completely, obviously, that that Ngannou is not Cyril, or is not Derek Lewis, right?
Yeah.
That they're different.
Yeah.
But in a sense, how are they that different to you? Because in my mind, it's like, yes, they're different. Ngannou's better and all that stuff, but they're really just kind of sort of one-dimensional power punchers, aren't they?
I hear you, and I do agree for the most part. And I do think for sure Derek Lewis has that explosiveness and surprise element to him. He kind of just sits and lurks, and you don't know when he's going to hit you. Whereas Ngannou is impending doom. He's just going to keep coming forward, and you're going to make a mistake. And that's what he did to Stipe Miocic. And we saw Stipe is one of the best wrestlers in the heavyweight division. And Francis actually managed to control him and keep himself from getting taken down and actually take him down.
His takedown defense in that fight against Stipe was very impressive.
And he was just so calm and patient, which, if he is going to beat Cyril, that's how he's going to have to do it. It's just that Cyril is also extremely calm and patient and more elusive and more creative with his striking than Stipe Miocic.
Has anyone read enough to get real insight on? So, I've read a lot about the Jim Moore stuff because both sides are leaking now about that stuff. So I've heard that Ngannou knocked him out with a leg kick and Cyril. But, I mean, have we ever heard somewhat from a neutral party how those really went?
No, not really. I heard from the coach that Cyril, the only sparring that I've seen those two do was it apparently ended with Cyril finishing Ngannou with a knee to the body. So
okay.
And I definitely think that makes a lot of sense because I think especially late in sparring, guys get tired, and when you start to hit them with body shots, especially like the kind of knees Cyril Gane hits people with, I'm sure it's,
Cyril Gane's ability to use his legs as a heavyweight is something that I think...
Well, he is a French Muay Thai champion. He was a national champion in Muay Thai before he ever did MMA, so he's an expert striker. He can strike with anybody in the world.
Well, I was watching that fight that he did against, it was one of his earlier fights. His body kicks, man, the way that he dissects that front leg, and as a power, like him being as smart or having the fight IQ that he does, would it surprise me if he went in and pieced up, Ngannou's leg in that first round to keep him from wanting to step forward into range and then just played distance all night until you're like, oh shit, Ngannou ran out of time? That would not surprise me at all.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's going to be as much about him running out of time as much as Ngannou just not having an answer for it. I mean, when someone's standing in front of you and every time you think about doing something, they're stopping you and they're just putting data in your head. It's data overload. You know what I mean? You're like, oh. Because Cyril Gane doesn't even just throw one kind of kick. He'll throw push kicks to the leg. He'll throw teeps to the body. He'll throw side kicks to the body.
He truly does have some of that John Jones in him, and he doesn't care how he's going to beat you. If you have a weakness, it's getting fucking exploited when you fight him.
Yeah, and the truth is, I think if John Jones had to fight Cyril Gane or Francis Ngannou in his next fight, he'd be...
Chael Sonnen said the same thing.
I think that neither one of those are great matches for him, but I really think that Cyril Gane, specifically because he can definitely outstrike John Jones.
Whoa.
100%. It's a world-class striker going against a really, really high level, you know what I mean? Like a high level pro. Like I think John Jones could definitely be a pro kickboxer, but he wouldn't be the world champ. You know what I mean? He wouldn't be the best in the world by any means. He's got a lot of holes in his game.
Yeah.
I want to jump in with one more question for you guys, see what you think. Why do you guys think, and I don't know, Matt, if you like MMA to even be aware of this, but why do you think no one outside of hardcore fans cares about this fight? Have you noticed that?
No pub.
It's no pub.
I don't think the fighters did themselves any favors. If either one of them early on in this process would have gotten in front of the microphone and been like, no, fuck you, I'm the champion.
It's funny because there actually is a lot of beef. People probably just don't really know about it. And I do think Francis is a star. I think a lot of times they do this it's the heavyweight championship. So
it's the most brutal belt in combat sports.
It has enough going for it in and of itself. You would hope anyway, but I do agree with you. I haven't been hearing a ton about it.
It's getting no pub. Chael Sonnen did a good video about it, actually.
Could that be just because the rest of the card isn't great.
I think that certainly
That has something to do with it, I
comes
believe.
into play. And honestly, as much as I like watching flyweight fighters, I don't think Moreno versus Figueiredo 3 is the most enticing fight for really
Not at all.
anybody right now. I mean, they fought twice in a row now. This is going to be the third time they fought in a row.
Okay, so that was my question was going to be. Why was there no break in this? Like, it was, yeah, okay, so it was close the first time they faced. In my opinion, Moreno outclassed Figueiredo heavily in the second fight. So why was there not now Figueiredo's got to go ahead and face somebody to prove that he's still the number one contender, and let's give Moreno the number 3 guy, the number 5 guy. Let's give him the chance to, take the big money fight with somebody who's going to run their mouth. Why is it 3 consecutive fights for these guys?
Well, Brandon Moreno was supposed to fight a guy named Alexandre Pantoja.
Yeah.
But that guy ended up getting injured, and Figueiredo was just begging for it. And Figueiredo's already got a relatively decent name for a flyweight. And the first fight was extremely close, and Figueiredo claimed that he was like sick or something going into the second fight. So take it as you will. I still think Moreno's going to hand him his ass, but
Are we going to get another absolute fucking war from these two? Is that what you think we're going to get? Are we going to get
I
something
think-
that's a tad bit more calm after they've done this twice?
I think it's going to be a little closer than the second fight, because I do think that if Figueiredo said something was wrong with him, at least something was wrong with him. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
might not have been why he lost, but I think Moreno, when he first fought Figueiredo, he believed in himself, and now he knows he's the champ. You know
so
what I mean?
this is actually their third matchup in 406 days,
That's too short a window.
making the quickest trilogy in UFC history.
Well, it's interesting, too, because it's not even really a true trilogy, because the first fight was a draw. So they
Yeah.
could technically even have a fourth fight after this if Figueiredo does manage to win.
I doubt it.
Which he could, because he's really heavy-handed, super good on the ground. It's not impossible. I just think Moreno's got him mentally right now.
Okay, so my question that piggybacks off the back of this fight: why is everybody all of a sudden going to send Henry Cejudo to learn how to not recapture belts? Because you saw the girl that was going to face
Young Zhang Wei Li.
Zhang Wei Li went back and then lost again.
She's still, man, I think she improved massively.
I do too, but it obviously wasn't enough. And
It was a close fight. I mean, I'm not going to lie. That
Results
was a close
matter.
Fight. I agree. But
Results
honestly,
matter.
at the end of the fight, I was like, that fight could go either way. And it was very close.
But then, so this is the same thing here, and now all of a sudden he's barking about, I want to get back in, I want a title shot, I want to unretire. Is he really a coach, or is this more of a fucking pub stunt for him
I
to
think-
get himself back into the fucking picture?
I think it's a little bit of both, man. Henry Cejudo really wanted to move up and fight at 145 pounds against Alexander Volkanovski and get a third title.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Because he was the champion at 125 pounds and 135 pounds. And Alexander Volkanovski was supposed to fight Max Holloway a third time. I don't know if you guys are familiar with their
Yep.
previous matchups, but
Which would have been great.
yeah, it would have been pretty awesome. Even though Alexander Volkanovski won the first 2 matchups, even though they were super close, so it's definitely
Yeah.
still worth having.
Holloway
a third
won.
fight.
I want
first fight.
Yeah, I thought Holloway did whatever. That it could have been a coin toss, but
Yeah.
The first one for sure was a coin toss, and the second one, I mean, Holloway dominated 2 rounds, and then I thought the other 3 went to Alexander Volkanovski, so that's why it's kind of weird, you know?
Yep. So I got Moreno by KO.
But I do think Cejudo is an interesting addition, and he could fight Volkanovski, and that would be interesting if he did, but I do think Volkanovski would win.
Okay. All right. So 2 fights on the prelim or early prelim card before we get out of here that you think people should tune into.
I still think Ilya Taporia is definitely going to be like a worthy guy to watch, even though he's not fighting a 15-0 competitor anymore.
It looks like they found a pretty decent replacement for him. Who was it?
Yep, Charles Jourdain, I believe his name is. He's 12-4-1, so I still think Ilya Taporia has fought tougher competition in his last few fights, and I think he'll definitely be able to handle that. Hang on, let me see here.
Okay, so he moves. He moves up into the top 10 then, or what in his division after he goes?
He's actually
for
not
12?
even ranked as of yet.
Really?
I think if he fought this 15-0 guy, it's possible he could have gotten a ranking next to his
But
name.
he's gonna
Sometimes
take
it takes a
back
while,
seat.
especially if they really think you're going to be good. They'll kind of work you up slowly. They don't want to throw you into the wolves too fast, cause especially when you're undefeated, because that's really good for publicity. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like we were talking about it. And then the other fight that's kind of a sleeper is Cody Stamann versus Said Nurmagomedov. And Said Nurmagomedov it's obviously related to Khabib, you know, the greatest MMA fighter of all time, arguably.
From Dagestan, where they
Yep.
wrestle bears and swim upstream in ice rivers.
Pretty much, yeah, up the mountains. And they're all really good. All those guys who train in that area, they're all extremely talented and hardworking. You know what I mean? They don't do anything other than train. Although I do think Cody Stammen's a good, dangerous competitor. I think he's definitely in for a rough night.
All right.
What do you guys think? If we had to bet, what Francis Ngannou are we going to see show up? Is he going to be like the Derek Lewis tentative, scared, or do you think he's actually going to come like be scared enough where he charges in and punches?
I think because he's got enough internal motivation with the coach, the same camp, a lot of that familiarity. Like if he was fighting Cyril Gane and they hadn't already sparred with one another, I would say he'd probably be a tad bit more tentative, right? But
That's a good take.
He knows what he's getting into with this fight. Like these guys have felt each other, right? So I don't think there's going to be any hesitation on either side.
No, but I do expect Francis to be calm and ready for 5 rounds because he has to be. He's got to know that he can't just go in there and charge and catch Cyril with something stupid because it's just not gonna. It's not gonna.
Even though that might be his most likely option to win.
Yeah, I mean it could. In
That's
theory.
all right. Yeah. What does anyone here think that Ngannou is going to win?
Nope.
I
I mean, I think he definitely can.
What?
But I don't.
think it's possible. He's got all that.
Mike won't
I
even
mean,
be
he can
awake to
always-
watch
he
the
can
fights.
knock out anybody, but
Right.
I expect Cyril Gane to win.
Same.
I expect him to win and rule, right? Like for a while.
Yeah, I don't really think anyone else is even in that area. I don't think there. Maybe John Jones could beat him in
And-
theory, but
The division's going to suck if John Jones doesn't start taking heavyweight fights too.
It's true.
Because if he wins, it'll be like, I'm sure, whatever. Ngannou will go to boxing probably. For a
it
little
almost
bit.
reminds me of like in Talladega Nights when the French guy starts dominating and like nobody cares
Yeah.
anymore. It's gonna be this French guy that's like just killing it as the heavyweight champ, and everyone's gonna be like, whatever, who's he even fighting? Like nobody, you know what I mean? So I don't know. It should be interesting to see, but I do expect him to win the fight.
All right. Well,
Solid
let us-
movie reference to wrap up the show today.
Absolutely. All right. So I know we missed some of them. Let us know what you guys thought on the very brief Wild Wolf watch we gave you. Anything that's going to be going on or any surprise matchups from UFC 270 and any bold predictions that you might have from the divisional wild card matchup. We will be seeing you guys next week. Mike, if they enjoyed today's show and wanted to share it with their friends, where can they find us?
Yeah, as always, guys, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Spotify, and now
YouTube.
back YouTube. You can catch us on Saturdays at 2 p.m. on MCN6, as well as Friday evenings at 7 p.m. That is cable. Pretty big time over here. So.
Oh, yeah. We do big stuff over here. Matt, thank you very much for joining us, man. Appreciate it having you.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
So let's hope that your set of picks go a lot better, and we will have you back a whole lot sooner, and Gabe won't have to do this 16-episode campaign to get you back on the show.
'cause that was brutal last time.
Did we get his official picks? We can see if he can like redeem himself.
We were only going
Just go through the top
going
three.
for a
Just
few, but
those.
I'll have him send them in via social. I'll have him give them to me, and I'll post them on our social media. We'll give him another run at it.
Circle
So,
'em. Yep.
All right.
we'll go from there.
Skull
make-
Niners.
Let me down.
Skull Niners. Yeah, let's we'll see you guys next week. We're going to be covering, I'm sure, the UFC 270 recap. We'll be even further into the NFL offseason. I assume we're going to know a little bit more about the Minnesota Vikings GM position at the very least by next week. And we are creeping up on the Winter Olympics as well, folks. So we'll have a little bit to talk about there. Make sure you tune in. Until next Thursday, take care and see you soon.
The guest didn't know what to do.
I was like, I was gonna stretch.
Ricky Bobby, right, Matt?
Turned it
Just
in, yeah.